You're listening to The Main Loop, a bi-monthly podcast all about what makes games interesting, engaging, and most importantly, fun to play. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Main Loop. This is episode 11, and I have shattered Stu's universe by shaving my beard off before the episode.
I'm not sure I can do this anymore.
I don't feel good about it either. No one looks good here. I regret that this happened. This was definitely a mistake made while my wife was out of town. And yeah, it'll never happen again. I can tell you that much.
Oh, man.
I can't even look at myself in the Skype. It is horrifying.
Somehow now you sound like you have a lisp.
My face has a lisp now.
Oh my god.
It's just because you're not hearing the sound of like air rustling through my mustache.
You used to sound like a man, Sean. I can't even call you by your name, Sean. You
think I'm a different person now. It makes sense. I get it.
Callie, come here and look at this.
I know, but did you just shave?
I don't know what he's talking about.
I can't tell.
Oh man. Okay. We can.
You look a little bit like a teenage skater boy.
Anyway.
We're going with Teenage Skater Boy. I'm going to keep that in the episode. Episode 11.
It's a great title. Yeah.
We got some stuff going on. Teenage Skater Boy. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is in our hands, so that's great.
Yep. You
notice this week I did not apologize for the Switch cast.
No, I think we're
bringing up the Switch. Yeah. You know what? Lean into it. Jesus, take the wheel. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is insanely fun. Here's what I did. I had two buddies over, and we played battle mode, balloon battle. It is redonkulous. It is so much fun. I'll tell you, the highlight reel feature is far more satisfying than I anticipated. That is way more fun than it has any right to be, watching slow-mo replays of you running into bananas or hitting somebody with a shell.
Yeah, I purchased it for the Wii U, and I purchased it again for the Switch mostly because driving a Mario Kart on an iPad that feels like that is awful.
Yeah.
It's really terrible. And so got it for the Switch. Don't regret it at all. It's amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
Playing it on the internet against other people is fun.
I have not done that yet.
But it's fun. I enjoy it.
I'll tell you this, I learned a valuable lesson. So I'm playing two players, so we're just using the independent little Joy-Cons. And those things are tiny. They're like the size of a piece of Fruit Stripes gum.
Yep.
And I'm struggling because just to push the L and R, the shoulder buttons, they're these little like mushy, rubbery buttons that are like recessed down in there. So I have this freaking death grip on this controller just so I can push these buttons. And then the next day at work, I'm explaining this, and a buddy of mine goes, "Well, what, didn't you put the attachments on?"
Oh yeah, the little things. Yep.
Everybody knows about this apparently. So I saw in the box of my Nintendo Switch little wrist straps, safety straps for the Joy-Cons. So I never removed them from the box because I'm not going to use those. What do I look like? Well, it turns out those are attached to these little extension pieces that make the Joy-Cons bigger. Give them real shoulder buttons. Oh, man. Game changer. But, yeah, it took me a minute to discover that, so.
Yeah, no, I saw them. I'm like, oh, what do these do? Let me just try throw it. Oh, my gosh. They slide on. This is amazing.
Yeah, everything is so much better now that I know this.
Yeah, it's just. I love Mario Kart. The game design of it is just like, it's incredible. Just like you could teach a class based on Mario Kart alone.
It's
like all of the different mechanics.
Well, and I like that there are a lot of things to know about Mario Kart 8, but you don't have to know any of them to play it and have a good time. Like, you don't have to necessarily understand the difference between hovercraft mode and when you're underwater. Like, you don't have to know those more fine details to play, have a good time, and even win. But if you do know them, then you just, like, you can have a new appreciation, but it's not this, like, required knowledge to enjoy the game. You're having a hard time looking at my face, aren't you?
All I can do is read your beanie now as like a headband, and that's just like throwing me off.
It's not a headband, but
it's the lack of the beard. Because if you had a beard, I'd be like, oh, that's obviously a beanie because he's a cool person.
But instead, you're just like that large child is clearly engaging in underage drinking and is going to get a ticket and is wearing a strange headband.
Yeah, you look like you should be on a tennis court somewhere with a polo.
I should be a ball boy. I'm a ball man. So Mario Kart 8. Let me tell you things that I like. I did not realize that they included tracks from old Mario Kart games. So being able to play Baby Park, which is, I know this is going to be crazy. It's one of my favorite Mario Kart levels.
I love that
Baby
map.
Park.
Love that map.
Because it's nothing but power sliding and throwing crap everywhere. It is just chaos, and I absolutely love it. And some of the, like, the 64 tracks, having double dash tracks and 64 tracks, it's great. It's great.
I mean, kind of back to the game design part. My favorite, the best thing about Mario Kart is that when you're ahead, you get to enjoy being ahead, and you still get to complain about getting
blue shelled,
awful prizes from the mystery boxes. And when you're behind, you get to have fun playing with all of the really awesome mystery box
right?
prizes.
Because you get nothing when you're in first place. It's like, have another coin.
Like, here's a coin. Here's a banana. Here's a green shell. We're feeling charitable. Here's a green shell.
Yeah.
You're just like, what the hell am I gonna do with this? And then you get blue shelled, and then the guy who, like, was right behind you sprints past you so fast that you can't actually green shell him in the time that it takes.
Yeah.
So then you shoot the green shell and you get going, and then you hit yourself with the green shell that you just shot.
You green yourself. It's great.
Yeah, it's fine though because you're in first, and if you're in last, you just get to like spam speed boost and like turn into a bullet and eat other players.
There's so much lightning in this game. I get lightning bolted so often in Mario Kart 8.
Oh yeah,
because of communism, because they give it to the guy at the bottom. I will say that some of these power-ups are pretty awesome. Like the Fire Flower is very satisfying, especially in battle mode, to just like pull a J-turn and unload a fireball or a Fire Flower, really for no reason, but it happens. It works. I've learned to, with the blue shell thing, when you see that a blue shell is on you, you just immediately slam on the brakes. Like, instantly just slam on the brakes and let somebody pass you, because then they'll take it, and then you just go back into being in first. It's great.
Also, there is one counter to the blue shell that I figured out.
Somebody told me the other day that you can counter it with
the bullhorn.
Yeah.
If you hit it at the right time, right as it's about to hit you, it will not.
That to me sounds as difficult as in Breath of the Wild, the counterattack to the big guardians that one-shot you with their lasers.
Oh, yeah.
You can deflect with your shield, but you have to time it right, and it is not always easy. This sounds like it's on par. When somebody said to me, you can counterattack the blue shell, and I said, blasphemy.
Yeah.
And I spilled their blood as heretics. This is mind-boggling to me that I now live in a world where the blue shell can be countered. Like you can defend against the blue shell. It has always been the unstoppable attack. No can defend.
This was literally my thought process. I was like, oh, I'm about to get blue shelled. This stupid horn is worthless. Let me just hit it. And I hit it, and then like a second later there was no blue shell, and I was like, kind of like when you're like a dog that's like looking around, like I should be punished right now. What's going on? This is fine.
Surely this can't be real.
And then I started accelerating. Like it's not. Oh, it worked. Oh my gosh. It was a truly delightful moment in my life.
Man, it's really fun. Yeah, doing battle mode has been a lot of fun. I like the different carts. I like that. I like that there's a Mercedes-Benz representation.
Oh yeah,
in this game. Like the first thing I unlocked is a SL Roadster, which is great.
This is logical.
And I like
that.
Yeah.
I really like that all the DLC from the Wii U comes unlocked too. So the last 4 Grand Prix that are in the Switch on the Wii U were locked. I never got them because I was like, I don't want to pay for DLC typically. They came for free at this game. That was great.
It's awesome. Yeah, and that has some of like the retro tracks. I haven't gotten to like the Hyrule track yet.
I haven't done that one
either. I like that they're branching out. I like that there's like a Hyrule track and the Excitebike track. Holy crap. I love the Excitebike track so much. Because you just get good at timing the little boost when you go off the ramp. And then you just boost for the entire race. It's great. It's great.
I'm trying to remember that one. Oh, no, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
You had it, and you lost it.
No. There are a few tracks that I don't love playing on, but I love getting through them. And there's a ton of tracks that I love. That I'm just like, this is awesome. I am happy I'm doing this with my life right now.
Yeah, and just the way they do like you go up on the wall here and now you're underwater and now you're doing this crazy like upside down thing. It's just it's chaotic, but it's not so much that you feel like overwhelmed, like you can't track with what's going on. It is just so much like chaotic, gleeful. It is a gleeful game.
I think the best part is that you can drift for like hours. You can just be like, I'm gonna drift now, and then like a minute later, you're like, oh, I'm still drifting.
Yeah,
this does not follow the laws of physics, but this is awesome.
Okay, speaking of drifting, the Smart Steer feature. Do we need to talk about Smart Steer Gate?
I don't get why they turned it on by default.
Yeah, I didn't realize until on a track where there was a part where there was like a fork in the road, and I like 2 laps in the row, I tried to go take the right fork, like at the last minute, and it shoved me into the left path, and I was like, that felt like actual like resistance coming from the game, and now I'm hearing about this Smart Steer feature. So for those of us in the audience who don't have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, explain this phenomena.
Firstly, I'm really sorry that that's where you're at. I was there too a month ago. That this was not my life. It's changed now that I have the Switch.
Yeah.
Really, just can't recommend it enough. So yeah, the Smart Steer feature is basically it's like bumpers on bowling lanes, but in Mario Kart.
Mm.
So it won't let you go off the road. It really won't let you do anything stupid. And it tries to be kind of gentle about it. So, like, if you're, like, edging towards the road, it'll be, like, you know, the beeper that's like, I'm just going to slightly guide you back. But then if you, like, just head for the cliff, it will also stop you. And so if you're trying to do, like, advanced technical moves, it will mess you up, like, every time.
What's weird is I found on some tracks where there's, like, a hairpin turn on a cliff, I've been able to power slide off the edge. Even when it was on.
Oh, even with it? Oh,
yeah.
Good.
So that was like the one specific situation where I was able to get myself in trouble. But yeah, that has to get turned off. Like that's, yeah.
I mean, you can turn it off.
I know. I'm just saying, when you get the game, you need to immediately like go turn that off.
I was concerned. I was like, Sean, you do know you can turn this off, right?
We have to take action and get this feature disabled from this game. You can. You hit the disable button.
I think it's great for people with kids that like can play Mario Kart, and like that way it's not a terrible experience for them.
Yeah, if you hate your kids and you don't want them to learn a valuable lesson about perseverance, practice, learning, knowledge, not being a useless little turd.
But what happened to your kid? I played with the easy mode on in Mario Kart and didn't get into college, and that just kind of went off the rails.
Yeah, I'm gonna go take all the baby gates out of my house now, because How else are they going to learn?
Yeah, I don't really get why it's turned on by default. That one baffled me.
The other thing I learned is on by default is if you go into 2-player mode and you do, you're each using one of the Joy-Cons, the second player's Joy-Con apparently is going to have the motion control steering turned on by default as well.
Oh, good.
Which my friends and I found after several matches, and I had a friend complaining about how this game controlled so much worse than all the other Mario Karts. And then we had to switch controllers for some reason, and then I realized, oh, it's because the stupid tilt control steering is on.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
I think, the motion controls are way better now than they were on the Wii U, like miles ahead. And I think for like Breath of the Wild, it's great because like I can do like the macro level arrow controlling with the stick, and then I can like do slight adjustments to like get it right where I want it to fire.
Yeah.
For racing games though, it's just not.
I'm not a fan.
Nope.
Not a fan. Well, speaking of Breath of the Wild, for what were up until a month ago our $300 Zelda machines. So we've got the first DLC
Again,
pack.
I'm fine with that purchase.
It's a great investment.
Everything's just bonus.
Yeah. So we got DLC for Breath of the Wild, which they were trying to sell me on the season pass, and I was like, "What's in the DLC?" And they said, "We don't know yet." So now we know. It's got some more like armor sets for you to find and equipment. There's this cool what is it, like Heroes Trail mode where you can actually see like on the map everywhere you've been like marked out. I kind of like that. I mean, I love just being able to mark the map in general, but it would be cool to look back. But it also introduces like Horde mode or hard mode. Sorry, this article says Horde style mode, and I was reading it. I don't know why it says Horde mode, but Horde mode. The game gets really horde at the Horde difficulties.
One of the, I think I remember reading, it was like, you get dropped naked into a cavern with like 30 bosses, and then I was like, and what? And I do what? Who does that by choice? Is that like a? Okay,
well there's a couple things going on here. There's a new just like hard mode for the game.
Oh, which just makes everything harder. That's right.
Yes, everything's a lot harder. But then there's this Heroes Trial or something like that, which now that I know what the prize is, I'm going to absolutely devote my life to doing it. It's 45 rooms, and you start with no equipment, and you have to kill all the enemies in the room to move on. If you do every room, then the Master Sword is always on full power charge. So when you get the Master Sword in the game, if you use it on anything but like Ganon's minions, then after a certain amount of time, it loses all of its energy and it becomes useless, and you have to wait for it to recharge to prevent you, because it's way OP, and they don't just want you using it on trash throughout the game, because it is way OP. So now there's a thing you can do. Oh, if you just fight these, if you just can get through this like challenge mode, then you can just have the crazy OP weapon for the entirety of the game with kill everything instantly mode turned on forever. So I'm absolutely doing this. I have no qualms with that.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it was created for speedrunners. Like, they're just going to love this, right? Like, you can speedrun inside the map, and then you can try to do a speedrun of Zelda with the sword on hard mode.
Yep.
Horde hard mode. Dar mode.
Hodor mode.
Hodor mode. And then you see a White Walker, and you get a little confused.
I will say, I did see that somebody has already completed a speedrun of this game in a pretty ridiculously short amount of time.
It's like pretty fast, right?
Yeah, which is crazy. So guys are doing that.
I think that's a feature, though. I think that really speaks to like something that's very positive about the game, actually, for me.
Yeah, actually, I just saw this video of the guy that a guy just beat the Super Mario 64 world record for all 120 stars. It was actually a pretty fun video. He was pretty emotional. His mom was there. She was emotional for him, which I guess it's like, yay, you do the thing that you literally spend all your time doing, and you got it slightly shorter. But I don't know. It was pretty cool. The whole speedrunning thing is just it's it's fascinating to me. I like watching them sometimes. I always love like when Awesome Games Done Quick comes around. I get excited for that, but man, the thought of that just being the thing you spend all your time doing.
I mean, I feel kind of the same way about marathoning. So like one of the big things in the sports world is like Nike was trying to beat the 2-hour marathon time.
Yeah.
And it was like this big thing. And I was like, that's nice. They're very physically fit people. That's good for them.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out how many bowls of cinnamon checks will kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. How many of these can I stuff into my mouth without effort?
I am marathoning these beers and TV shows right now, let me tell you.
And that's very similar to how I feel about speedrunning in video games. I'm like, oh, I died again from the skeleton. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Okay, so on this topic of hard mode and dying a lot from skeletons, so Breath of the Wild now introduces this hard mode that you can do where monsters are way more powerful, their health regenerates over time as you fight them, etc., etc. And that seems to be the thing nowadays, is most games have what they call normal mode, or sometimes they call it easy mode just to make you feel bad about playing it. And then they have like hard mode, and then there's like extreme blood soul survivalist like masochist mode,
right,
which is just like, you know, there's no, you can't see how much ammunition you have, there's no health bars, like you have to manually count how many hits you've taken or things like that.
You hit the wrong pixel. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. And
just memorize that pixel spot and then you're fine. It's easy.
And I don't know, the last game that I even tried this on was Metro 2033, which is this like post-apocalyptic first-person shooter, well, actually with a pretty great story. But they have this mode that's like Ranger mode. And in Ranger mode, like you don't have any sort of heads-up display. So when you're outside in that game, you have to wear like an oxygen mask. So you have to like manually check your little oxygen meter to see how much time you have left, or on your filter or whatever. You have to actually be checking that. You have to be looking at your gun to see how many bullets are actually in the magazine. Like that's how you keep track of ammunition. And or to see how much is in the clip. And if you want to see how much ammo you have left, you have to actually open your backpack and just stuff like that. I mean, it is like super hard. You've got to pay attention to everything. And I tried it for about an hour and it was not the way I wanted. I wanted to actually complete the game at some point in my life. So I didn't do that. But what frustrated me was in the game menu, it says like, this is the like recommended like purest form of our game. And I'm like, well, now I'm going to feel bad about just wanting to play on the normal mode to like get through the story and see what happens. And so I don't know, just the whole like super survival mode in games in general always kind of bugs me, because I feel like, well, am I playing like a lesser version of the game? Am I missing something? Like, do I need the deluxe collector's edition director's cut box set, or can I just watch like the normal Blu-ray of this thing?
I just have one question. Is that what bearded Sean would say, or what non-bearded Sean would say?
I didn't lose my powers. I'm not Samson. I would say either way, beard or not, I'm not into the survival mode thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually listening to the Bithell Games podcast. It's actually pretty cool. They're the guys who made Thomas Was Alone.
Oh yeah.
And then they released another game called Volume. I guess it's like a stealth game that looks pretty cool. And they were talking about like how in 2017, like you just have to make your game streamable. Just because like you're not going to get press, you're not really going to like grow as a company unless that's like a thing you do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I tend not to love hard modes, and I think indie games sometimes lean too hard on them because it's like, oh, we can make this like super crazy and like people will have to replay and blah.
Yeah.
But I do think Zelda introducing something like it shows a pretty cool evolution for Nintendo as a company.
Yeah. Because
I feel like it's the type of thing they wouldn't have done like in the last Zelda games. Like,
and you're talking about the pro mode, like
yeah,
the pro display mode in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, or even like with this introduction of the Horde hard blah, where it's like it's clearly targeted at people who are going to be streaming the game, and it's like could I ever see myself playing it? Probably not. Like, there might be some features, but I could see myself watching someone play it, and that's like really, really different. You know, it's like, it's nice to see Nintendo being like, oh, like, we're not gonna make it the recommended, but you know, it's gonna be this option for this like new way that people interact with video games.
Well, and it's interesting too, because at least with Breath of the Wild, they did put some things in the game that you can only get in the hard mode, but it's like treasure chests and stuff, and you have to get to them in certain ways. So it's not just, hey, the reward is getting to say you beat it on hard mode. Like, there are things there.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really interesting point though, about living in a day and age now where if you can't put up streams of the game, if it's not conducive to streaming and let's plays, then like, you're not going to get the exposure that you would hope for the game, which I feel like has to hurt a lot of indie games that are like more narrative. Like, I can't imagine really watching streams of Thomas Was Alone.
Right.
And yet I can't imagine having not played that game, because
for sure
the music, the dialogue, everything about it was just such a wonderful experience. Yet I wouldn't fire up a let's play of it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference though, right? I think it's a difference between a game that asks 5 hours of your time and a game that asks like 10 plus, where I think if you're going to 10 plus, like it actually kind of answered the question for me, where I was like, is Breath of the Wild really going to be talked about 6 months from now? Like, as is it really going to be a centerpiece of the conversation, or is it going to be like, oh, that's that game that we played? And I think with the DLC, it kind of answers that question with pretty much confidently yes. Like, this is going to be something that has a lot of replayability that people are still going to be like finding things out about. You know, and I think that speaks to Zelda, like Nintendo's sort of growth as a company with the game. Whereas, I think games like Thomas Was Alone, it's easier to not have to do that, because I can be like, oh, it's just that thing I play on my own, and I can be done. You know, like other good examples would be like the Supergiant games with like Bastion or Transistor.
Oh, sure.
Where it's like, I could never imagine streaming them, but playing them by myself was fine, right? Like, it was fast enough. It was a great story. Whereas I feel like with these games that once they ask like more than 5 hours of you, you know, like how far can this game really go unless people are streaming it?
Interesting. Well, and I think too, there's this weird, I mean, we talk about, and I think it's easy to mock, you know, people who it's like, oh, they can't enjoy anything without Instagramming it, right? But I can't tell you how often these days I feel like, oh man, I'm like, tonight I've got the evening free to just like sit and play X new game I want to play or whatever. And there's this twinge of, not guilt, but I have this thing in the back of my head that's like, but you should be streaming it. Like, you know, if you're not streaming it, I mean, you need to be like putting yourself out there, and people need to see this. You need to be sharing this experience, right? Like, you need to be sharing this experience with people. And that's, I just feel like that's just such a product of our like overshare, over socialize, like, you know, but at the same time, it's fun. I mean, I spent, like, there was about a year ago, or I guess it's been 2 years now. I was streaming Hearthstone a couple of nights a week, and I mean, you know, had 8 people watching me, but it was actually still a really fun time. Like, it actually felt like this more social thing to be more deliberate about, like, I'm not just going to zone out and be silent. I'm going to actually kind of talk through the things I'm going to do, and I'm going to like try to be engaging and more open with my like thought process of certain moves and stuff like that, and expressing my opinions. But there was still this like pressure all the time of like, well, if I'm not going to just play Hearthstone on my phone because I'm not streaming. I've got to get home and get all set up and get the stream going. And I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if you've ever done any streaming or.
I don't like it when people can see me. So.
It's true. You don't even listen to our podcast.
I deeply hate the sound of my own voice. Just truly deeply hate it.
You have a great voice. You have a great voice for radio. People have told me that, actually. That you have a great podcast voice, Stu.
People have actually told me that too, and I still hate the sound of my voice. It's like
That's great.
I just like no, but I've definitely thought about it, and kind of to that point, I feel like there are certain games that like I'm really happy just playing on my own, and I think that's kind of a place where indies can fill that niche for me.
Yeah.
Where it's like if I want an experience that's like very story driven and kind of like offbeat and does some interesting things, like that's indies are like perfect for that. And like more open things where I want to share them with people, like I think larger games can do that. Like I mean, I'm still in awe of like Breath of the Wild, just how fun of an experience it is to be a spectator. Like that's pretty new for me. Like I remember playing Kingdom Hearts with a friend like five or 6 years ago, and he would always just end up playing, and I would just kind of get bored and stop. And like Kingdom Hearts is a great game, and I could watch it for like some stretches, but it wouldn't like capture me the same way. Just like getting to watch him play. But like Breath of the Wild's really fun to just like watch and like talk through what you think you're gonna do, and like I hope game makers continue to like innovate in that direction, so that it's not just like, oh, I feel pressure from this game to be sharing all the time, but like, oh, I'm actually getting this reward from this game for like having a community around it.
No, that actually ties back really nicely to the speedrunning thing, because that's the thing that amazes me and is so cool about the speedrunning community is like when you watch, AGDQ or Summer Games Done Quick, and it's like people are there and they're into that game. Like that's the game that they run, or one of the games that they run, and they know there's different like, oh, this move that I'm going to attempt, or this glitch was discovered by this guy, or I try to do it this way, and people cheer, and it is very much this like, people watch this game be I guess ran, like they watch people do it, they learn the ins and outs of it, and it becomes this much more communal thing. So I really think the streaming thing is amazing. Like when I discovered Twitch at first, I was like, wait, people do what now? And then I was hooked. I mean, within 6 months, I was subscribing to a few people, and because I wanted to support it, and like I really think it's an amazing thing now, and it does take. Yeah, I don't know. It does provide this sort of social communal feeling, especially if you're like a sub to somebody and that kind of a thing. But it does put a different. I don't know. It just puts puts games in a different light to think about. Can you have a community around this game, or is this just a game that's really, really a single player game?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that kind of made me realize is like I really do prefer watching the streams of someone I enjoy watching, like on Heroes or Hearthstone, than I do enjoy listening to like casts of like events. Just because like if it's regular sport, if it's like live sports, or if it's esports, like sports casting, just like it's worn out for me. It's just like saying the same things over and over again. And like, and it's not the caster's fault. Like they can be very good, but there's like only so many ways you can talk about things before like you're just saying the same thing. But like getting to see the attitude of a single streamer is like really cool. Like getting to like watch Crip or on Hearthstone, or like Skara on Heroes or League of Legends, and just like see them walk through their thought process and how they play the game. And I feel like I learn a lot as a person from doing that. And it's not like as mindless as it is when I'm just like watching a sporting event where it's like, oh, okay.
Where you're kind of trying to tune out.
Either it's like, oh, this happens to be this amazing game, right? And then I can just mute it and watch the game, and it's like awesome. Or 90% of the time it's not. It's kind of boring, and I'm not really learning anything anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, I watch streaming pretty regularly. It's not uncommon for me to have that on, like muted or with the volume down at work or over lunch or something. And I usually am only interested in watching actually streams of games that I play regularly by people who play them at a high level, because I just like seeing how they approach the game, hear their thoughts on it, a game like Heroes of the Storm, where I love the game and I play it a lot, and I want to be better at it, but people who play at the top level are so much better at the game than I am. And so getting to actually see, like, how do they approach a situation? Like, what do they do in team fights? Like, how do they think about the map? I don't know. I come back to this idea of a single player experience. I know we're jumping all over here, but like, we keep talking about Thomas Was Alone because it's that amazing. I mean, if you're listening to this and you haven't played it, like it is one of those, like,
it's available for iPhone too now.
Yeah.
It's like,
sit down, put headphones in, don't listen to it with the sound off, put your headphones in and actually like enjoy it. And so I think that now there even more so there's this like, not segmentation, but there's this differentiation between, like, okay, you've got your multiplayer games, whatever, in your esports type games. You have your single player games that are great for streaming, right? You've got Zelda and adventure games or competitive games where you play by
like
yourself.
Fallout or
your big AAA RPGs.
Assassin's Creed.
Watch somebody go through The Witcher or something. But then you have a game like Thomas Was Alone. That's really a single player experience, and I mean that, like, you sit down, you put headphones in, and you play this game, and it is just a wonderful thing. And it's almost like I don't want to taint it by streaming it, because then I have to, like, stop paying it. I would have to not be paying full attention to, like, what's going on in this game and, like, how great it is. And just something about, I mean, you had told me, this was a couple years ago, you told me about Thomas Was Alone. I immediately downloaded it. It was even available on the Mac. I immediately downloaded it on my Mac and played it, and my wife heard the music and was like, what is this? And she sat and watched me play through almost the entire game for like several hours, because it was just this, like, this dialogue and this music and the animation, everything about it is just incredible. And that's a very different experience than something that, then again, another, like, AAA thing that's kind of like, I can get some viewers with this. Other people might not have the time to spend in Fallout, doing everything, and so they can kind of see things that they wouldn't normally see. But I don't know. I think there's still this space for, like, a game that's meant to just be played and enjoyed by the person playing it. That's my story about
agree.
that.
I totally agree. I think that's kind of definitely getting split apart over time, and I think I hope it gives more area for, like, indies to come in and just, like, tell a nice story like that.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff. And I think with that, we are going to wrap this up. Another one in the can. This has been episode 11 of The Main Loop. Thank you to everybody who has been tuning in and listening. We see those listener counts. We see them growing. So we appreciate that. We hope you guys keep liking the show. So you can follow the show on Twitter at The Main Loop. And you can also email us your thoughts at mainloopshow@gmail.com. And you can follow me on Twitter. You will not be seeing my unshaven face. I am going to hide from the world for the next few weeks. But you can follow me on Twitter at Sean M. Bragg. I like to tweet about games and JavaScript and coding and dumb stuff. I made a fart joke the other day that I was pretty pleased with. So follow me there at Sean M. Bragg, SeanMBrage. And Stu.
Oh man, things have been super crunch mode right now. I don't even know if I have a social. Am I on the internet anymore, Sean? I don't know.
No, this is being recorded over Tin Can.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Slack at Stu.
If you work with me, then you can Slack me. That's about it.
Just like go to a bunch of communities at Stu. Is this you?
Are you the Stu?
No. Hopefully things will cool down next week, and I'll have something to talk about. But until then, I'm kind of in low power mode.
That's great. You're like our resident like internet hermit, and I like that. I like that about you. Like, I feel like I'm gonna find out that you've been, like, contributing to Usenet pages for the last, like, several years, and that's just it.
Oh man, I'm actually, hopefully my boss doesn't listen to it, but he actually recommended I go to Usenet to learn about coding.
Why?
And, like, IRC, because apparently that's where, like, all the neckbeards live in the world.
Yeah, IRC is definitely where the neckbeards live, but can you still even connect to Usenet? I thought you had to at least like be running some sort of underground drug trade or something in order to connect to Usenet.
I don't know, Sean. That's about my understanding of the
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. I'm sorry if you're listening to us on Usenet. I hope you're not offended. If you're downloading the text transcription of this on Usenet, our apologies. But we will be back in. Actually, we will not be back in 2 weeks because I will be in Florida on my first ever family vacation with my wife and family. So we will actually be taking a little break, but we will be back in 3 weeks. Unless Stu decides to get on the internet suddenly and just like makes a show without me, which I would love. It would be shocking.
Stuart found the internet actually.
Yeah. Oh no, he's interneting. Don't let him. But yeah, until then, we'll see you. We'll be back in a few weeks, and yeah, thanks everyone, and that is it.
See ya.